All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting episode of Traversing the Veil. Yes, this is one of my homebrew D&D campaigns at my weird, messed up homebrew D&D campaign setting, and the people below me are mouthing the words I am saying as I am saying them. It's weird. Like, my memory is so bad that I can't remember like my code to get into like my two-factor authentication stuff. I can't remember my two-factor authentication stuff if I have to look away from my phone to enter it. However, I've come up with a way to do intros where I say the exact same words over and over and over again, exactly the same way. And I don't understand how my brain remembers that but can't remember 6 numbers.
Because you've been doing it for years.
Mm-hmm.
You've got that 6 numbers for 2 seconds.
Well,
Yeah.
I do it with Essential Essence 22, and I only have, 5 episodes of that thus far? Like, I just somehow, my brain will get me into a habit that it's from my acting days. I miss acting. Acting was fun. Also very weird. I remember there was one
Yep.
time we were doing, what was it? West Side Story. We were doing West Side Story. I was playing Bernardo. There was this girl playing Anita. And at this point, I had done a lot of acting and had been the romantic lead a couple times. And in high school, everyone thinks, oh my God, if you kiss on stage, and it's not. Stage kisses suck. They always suck. You can I've done stage kissing with my significant other. I've done it with people I despise. I've done it with people that I have crushes on. It's never fun. Never is. It's just a part of the job, and it never gets not weird. Like there's never a time when it's just not weird. So we get to the point, and there's a point in the show where Anita is first introduced, that Bernardo comes on and they kiss. And it's supposed to be this kind of very passionate thing because that's what the sharks are, and that's what their relationship is based on. And so we come over, and this girl who's like up to here on me, because at that point I was like 6'1", 6'2". She just looks at me, and I am extremely uncool, and all the girls despise me because of how uncool I am. And so she looks at me, and she just has this look of like, if you make my lips touch that thing, I will puke. And the director is a student director who's only a year older than me, and this girl was a year younger than me. Looks, and he's trying to come up with a kind of diplomatic way to go, yeah, you're going to have to kiss the big oaf. And so I turned to her, name was Rachel. I turned to go, Rachel, we don't have to kiss. She goes, huh? I said, the audience, because of how our stage is set up, the closest the audience is about 20 feet away from us, 15, 20 feet. And the audience sits below the stage, because we have the stage is risen, and then we also have a pit orchestra in front of us. So I said, all we have to do is because I'm a very big person and you are a very small person, all I'm going to do is I'm going to reach in, I'm going to put my arms around you, and I'm going to lean my shoulder down, my downstage shoulder down. What that's going to do is all the audience will be able to see is my shoulder and my head, and your arms around me. And then we just get our faces close. We don't have to touch or anything, and it looks like we're making out. Because sightlines and everything, you can't actually tell. There's no depth perception on stage from the audience. So like they won't be able to tell that we have like 6 inches between our faces. And she goes, that won't work.
That's all stage trick.
No. And she goes, that won't work. I go, Alex, Alex was the director. I go in the audience. He's like, okay. He goes down, and I go, okay, this is all we're doing. And I hug her basically, and I lean in like this. And he goes, no, that looks really good. I said, it's not that difficult.
Yeah.
She eventually warmed to me by the end, to where she didn't vehemently despise me. She tolerated me. And then afterwards, we kind of became friends. But it took the entire show for her to not just despise me vehemently. So, the joys of acting. So, Announcements. Trying to think of anything like big in the tabletop world is going on.
I
I think Renegade, the people that make the SS20 system, are kickstarting a new board game that was funded in like 10 minutes. Big shocker there. Major corporations using Kickstarter to fund their new stuff annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah.
But it also makes a shit ton of money, so I totally understand why. But, yeah. So that's a thing. As far as other like big tabletop RPG stuff,
Wizards of the Coast.
yeah, Wizards of the Coast, the core books for D&D 5.5 are slowly, they're not being leaked. Wizards of the Coast is doing a bunch of sponsored deals, one of which is with Dale Kingsmill. By the way, Matt Colville, let Dale Kingsmill name your system. But Dale Kingsmill, friend of the channel, she was our White Ranger for my Power Rangers RPG I did a couple years ago. She actually got to do a sponsored video by Wizards of the Coast talking about the new DMG and how their example setting that they're using in the DMG is Greyhawk, the original D&D setting. So yeah, Wizards of the Coast is doing this huge marketing push for the new core books, and everybody's making videos about them. Ginny D has a video about bards. There's been a couple other people that I've seen, big names in D&D YouTube that are just, each of them are being given like a class or a subclass or something to talk about. The official D&D channel is doing a bunch of videos about each class, and it's looking like each subclass as well. So if you're interested in getting previews of what the new core books, the first of which is launching in the beginning of September, if you want to see what they're going to look like, there is a crap ton of stuff out there that you can check out. Whether you want it directly from Wizards of the Coast or you want it indirectly from one of the sponsored videos that they're doing, there is tons of stuff. And as far as I can tell, everybody... Now, obviously, my understanding is most, if not all of these are sponsored videos. So we weren't going to get sponsored videos where they shit on everything. However, that being said, everything I've been seeing thus far has been very positive. People have been loving the update. And yeah, people seem excited about this. Another thing that I found really interesting, on D&D Beyond, there's this thing that you can get called the Legendary Bundle. And basically, it lets you buy every book that's been released for D&D 5th edition, and it costs a shit ton of money. Years ago, when it was less expensive because there were less books, I was able to get enough money together to actually purchase it. And one of the benefits of getting the Legendary Bundle is you get a discount on all of the books that you purchase from then on, as if you had bought them as part of the Legendary Bundle. I have not been able to use this discount because it didn't apply to physical digital bundles. And I used to always get physical digital bundles in order to get the early access. Well, D&D Beyond has announced early access is going to be a thing moving forward, but instead of tying it to whether or not you pre-order the digital physical bundle, it will be tied directly to your D&D Beyond subscription. If you get the lower subscription that I can't remember what it's called, you'll get 1 week of early access. If you have the master tier subscription, which is what I have, you get 2 weeks of early access.
Oh, the lower tier from that is Hero.
Hero, thank you. You get 2 weeks of early access. So no longer do you have to buy the physical digital bundle to get early access, which is a big deal. And if you buy the digital books, you get your legendary discount. Like, they have a bundle right now to get all 3 of the core books, and it's normally like $90. For me, it's like 70 something because I have the legendary bundle. So I'm super happy about that. I know the new D&D Beyond store. I can neither confirm nor deny that I've had conversations with someone here about how much we have just not enjoyed the new version of the store and how it's broken so many different aspects of D&D Beyond. However, it's starting to make sense as to why those things are breaking, because now that they're adding these new features and other stuff like that, we're starting to see how the store is supposed to work, as opposed to how it is working, which is dog shit. So hopefully that means that the new store interface and everything is going to be significantly better for everyone involved. But I'm just happy that I can get all 3 core books without having to sell my other kidney, because I had to sell my first kidney to get the legendary bundle. So I really love just the stunned silence of, you sold a body part? No, I have both my kidneys.
See, I don't think anyone was surprised. It was just acceptance of.
It's just one of those. Yeah, I mean that's what you do if you want to play D&D. That's what you do.
Have to sell at least one body part.
Yeah,
Yeah, we would all give up a kidney or a major organ in order to follow our passions and hobbies. Totally.
Definitely. Like I'm down, 2 liver lobes, and it's fine. They grow back eventually. I mean, they do. That's why they let you donate a lobe of your liver, because it's a regenerative organ. But and that's why partial liver transplants work, because they can graft the good liver onto your bad liver and it fixes it.
The more you know.
Ding.
It'd be great if more organs in the body could do that.
Yeah, burrs. So anyway, cool stuff happening with that. Like I said, the early access, if you're a master tier subscriber in D&D Beyond, the early access starts September 3rd. So we are only a few months out from having the 5.5 version of D&D 5th edition. And like I said, everything I've seen thus far, and I've gotten to the point where I'm actively avoiding previews and stuff like that, because I do want to go in as fresh as I can to it. But the bits and pieces that I've seen, people seem to be really enjoying the updates. So
the people that doesn't make their entire career hating on.
Yeah, and that's the thing that really, really kind of solidifies it for me, because all the people that are making these videos right now about how much they enjoy the new products, 6 months ago, were saying how they were never going to play D&D ever again, and Wizards of the Coast was dead to them. So either Wizards of the Coast is spending a lot of money, which I don't think is happening, because Hasbro wouldn't give them that kind of money, or people are actually enjoying this, which is what I thought was going to happen from the get-go. Again, Wizards of the Coast has a track record of making good games. Whether or not you like every decision they've ever made, it's the reason that D&D is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Whereas, Paranoia doesn't really exist anymore.
Paranoia the game.
The game, yes. Why, have you heard something? Who told you?
I heard it, guys. Yay us. Yay American healthcare system.
By the way, if you ever get a chance to play the game Paranoia, they're not making new versions of it, but you can still get the version that came out in like the early 2000s. It is a blast to play. And it will make you question all of your friendships. So yeah, if you ever wanted to ruin friendships in 4-hour sessions.
I got tired of doing it over Monopoly.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, or life.
Yeah, Monopoly, life.
But you know what, Jerry? That's why you just don't have friendships. That way you can play games and not hate those around you for the rest of your life.
Definitely. Says the person who built an entire character so that they could have a fleet of ships.
She didn't have friends. Correct that misconception. She did not have friends.
Yeah. Anything else real big happening in tabletop world? I don't think so. In the video game world, there was the Nintendo Direct that happened yesterday. I did a live reaction with Zelda Universe. Me, Elias Thompson, and Mary, who always wants a cookie. If anyone has no idea what that is, her screen name is Mary Wants a Cookie. And there's a joke on a bunch of my friends' channels where they all have channel point redemptions that all are like 1 or 2 points to give Mary a cookie. We love Mary. She's the marketing person for ZU, and so we all sat down. We watched the Nintendo Direct, and in the beginning, we always like to pick on Elias because Elias is a huge Metroid fan. He helped found Metroid HQ, which is a massive Metroid fan site. Back when fan sites were a thing, and it's still going, by the way. And so we always like to joke with Elias. It's like, yeah, you know the thing that's not going to show up on the Nintendo Direct? Anything about Metroid. And boy, were we wrong. Brand new Metroid Prime 4 trailer that looked freaking gorgeous. Metroid Zero Mission got added to Nintendo Switch Online. I have beaten it already because it's a short game.
I've still never played a Metroid game, and I kind of love it because I know it gets under Elias's skin.
They are super fun.
I also have not played a Metroid game.
I
If I ever do play, I'm still going to pretend like I've never played.
I strongly
I like watching
encourage you.
speed runs.
With all the Metroid talk and everything like that, I seriously consider, because I've had an idea in my head for a while about running a Metroid tabletop RPG and what system and everything I would use. And I'm still trying to decide what I'm going to do for December this year for my December campaign. So maybe we'll run a Metroid campaign. I'd have to figure out a system I wanted to use for it. But I might be able to encourage Elias to join. And everyone would be bounty hunters, and that would be fun. Who knows? I have like 3 different ideas for campaigns. I want to run a Dragon Age campaign this December because the new Dragon Age game that's coming out. I want to run a Mana series game this December because the new Mana series game is coming out in August. And now I want to run a Metroid tabletop RPG. So,
Yeah, I couldn't remember. There is a Dragon Age RPG.
there is. It was
Great running.
literally the first. It's the first RPG I ever played. Because before I got started on D&D 4th Edition, I ran the Quick Start rules on the Quick Start adventure for the Dragon Age RPG. I still remember the Quick Start adventure is called An Arl's Ransom. And I still remember the plot of it and everything. It was the first time I was ever DM. And yeah, if I was to run a Dragon Age, I wouldn't use the Dragon Age RPG because it's a little bit dated. But the generic version of the Dragon Age RPG is called the Fantasy Age system. And they released an update to it called 2nd Edition last year. And it's really nice. So yeah, there's lots and lots of cool stuff going on right now. There's a new Zelda game where you get to actually play as Zelda. And it looks like it's going to be actually fun, unlike the CDI games. So
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about it, not gonna lie.
it looks super cool. And Chex, you will confirm. It is
Already
obvious
confirmed.
that the people at Nintendo watch Realms of the Wild because
Yes.
the weapon she uses is called the Rod of Trying, and I created the Rod of Restoration, which you guys called the Trifork. So the reason we have a Zelda protagonist is because of me. You are all welcome. And
We
if
appreciate you.
anyone doesn't know, that was our previous Legend of Zelda campaign that I ran for ZU. And it ended after 5.5 years, and it was super awesome, and I made the cast cry. Tears of joy.
Aw.
Yes.
He was
It
very
was good.
It was very fun. And now we're running another campaign.
Which is also good.
Yeah, it's been super fun. We've had a one-time guest that has shown up for like 3 months. Yeah, we're getting close to that little side quest being finished, or that little arc being finished.
Really, it feels like we just started it. Jeez.
Well, the entire purpose of this particular campaign is for you guys to have all these little mini arcs where I get to revisit old Zelda games.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're all supposed to kind of be these little vignettes that eventually start to lead to a larger plot. So, and I have like plans for you guys about other stuff that's going on, and you've already discovered one of my little subplots for.
Wait, no, it's not gonna
Come
do it.
on.
No, it's not.
Oh,
gonna do it.
it's
Too bright.
light.
Yep.
But that was
Alright.
Fubari, who's played by our amazing guest Dottie,
Dottie.
whom I met through Twitch Sings, because we sang Phantom of the Opera together. We did Phantom of the Opera, and then we also did That's All I Ask of You, because that's another pretty song. So anyway, Imp has used his points to cast a first level spell on a party member, and he is casting Summon Cookie. I will eventually get Mary. I'm already slowly wearing down Mary, because she, years ago, she said, I don't play tabletop RPGs. I don't play D&D. That's not my thing. And somebody bought her a set of dice. And so now she's considering playing. And so I'm slowly trying to convince Mary to join one of my games. So who knows? Maybe I will get a Give Mary a Cookie redemption in here. Because the lore behind the Give Mary a Cookie redemption is if enough people redeem giving Mary a cookie, she suddenly appears. Which has happened on many occasions. Mostly during Elias's stream, because Mary likes to pick on Elias. But, so yeah, lots of cool stuff that happened at the Nintendo Direct. There's a new Zelda game, a new 2D Zelda game that's coming out that looks amazing. Metroid Prime 4 is apparently coming out in 2025.
Ace Attorney Investigations is finally getting a Western release.
Yeah, some Ace Attorney games that didn't make it over here before. A game by the original creator of Final Fantasy that was locked on Apple's App Store, whatever it was, is finally getting released from that prison of nonsense.
New Mario and Luigi game.
Yeah, lots of cool stuff. Lots of stuff that has inspired me to think about tabletop versions of those game systems. So this is what I do. Like, I see a game I want to play, and I instantly go, I wonder how I could turn that into a tabletop RPG. So we'll see. The Final Fantasy 14 RPG, people are starting to give reviews of it, and I actually got to see they have a free players handout thing that kind of explains how the rules work. And the system itself looks interesting, to say the least. It takes a decent amount from 5th edition, but there's enough kind of differences in there that you can do some interesting stuff. Like, one of the things you can do is you can, instead of using your move action, you can do what's called a focus action, which effectively gives you an additional action in your turn, but it means that you can't move that turn. So that's a massive change in how a game is balanced, when people can just stand in one spot and get extra actions. It really changes how you balance the game. So yeah, cool stuff. They also have like markers that will happen when bosses are doing special attacks, very similar to how it works in the MMO, which kind of require you to move or you're going to get hit with nasty bad stuff. Which I find another fascinating thing, where the idea of telegraphing moves in a tabletop RPG is really interesting. There's a Dark Souls board game that actually has a system where when you're fighting bosses, they have a deck of cards, and each card is a different attack that they do. But they only have a small, like, their deck is only like 6 or 7 cards long. And so what happens is when they get to the end of the deck, they just flip the pile over and they do it again. And so as you fight the boss, you get to learn their attack pattern, because it follows the same attacks over and over again. And so when you learn what the attacks are, you can kind of go around them. And I think, again, from a tabletop RPG's perspective, it's a really fascinating thing. So anyway, where's my mouse? There we are. I'm going to refund that summon cookie spell.
I
Aw.
do not have to worry about it.
Um,
I have like 76,000 points.
yeah, I gotta come up with some other. Actually, what I need to do is just start streaming more, so people can actually use channel point rewards on things other than my RPGs. But that will require me streaming.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it is time for us to return to Traversing the Veil. party is at a crossroads. Having been hired by Anonymity, the sovereignty-wide Guild of Assassins, to prevent a meeting from happening, the party started investigating exactly what was going on, and were eventually approached by a member of the Aqueous Realm, one of the elemental planes that is currently at war with the Tempest Sovereignty. They discovered that the Aqueous Realm had set their own team of assassins to assassinate the same target, and they simply seemed to want to share information. A very strange thing for the changelings of the Aqueous Realm to do. After Arai found their contact waiting for him in his bed, they had a conversation, and their contact from Anonymity suddenly realized everybody involved was being set up. Something that has never happened to Anonymity in its centuries-long history. Realizing that this could mean something very, very bad for everyone, including the party, Esmiel, the contact from Anonymity, laid all of her cards on the table, explaining everything she was aware of, which unfortunately was not much. Now the party needs to decide if they are going to go through with their mission, if they're going to scrap it, or if they're going to try something completely different. And that is where we return. So, just to get me back up to speed, our last session ended right after Esmiel kind of told you guys, like,
To wake
you're all
everyone
fucked,
up.
right? But yeah, you guys haven't actually had the full meeting yet, have you?
Yeah, we haven't.
Nope. Just Smegwick and Ismail and I.
Okay.
I just gave her back her pants.
Oh, yeah. Which, worked.
It did, yeah.
Arai can pull off a lot.
In bed.
Everywhere. Oh,
So-
for everyone.
Double and triple entendres.
Hey! You know, 3 is fun.
Yeah, that's what she said.
3's not a crowd. 3's just fun.
If you
So-
know what I mean.
So yeah, everyone has effectively been woken up, and you have all been brought to the captain's quarters, simply because it has a. You guys are going to meet in the galley, weren't you?
Version of the galley, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys have all gone to the galley because it's an area where there is enough space for you to all be there, and there are surfaces on which to put maps and other things there. So, Arai, you specifically, again, you know Esmiel better than anyone else here because you traveled with her for a few months. But even in that time, you didn't get, you got to know Esmiel biblically, but she's still a very guarded person. And even in her, let's call it, most vulnerable state, you really never got to know her that well. And you, because you spent so much time with her today and already know some of what's going down, you've been kind of hanging around her, and you're seeing a side of her you have never seen before. She is genuinely afraid. And you have been in situations where people have threatened her, where very, very large, powerful people have threatened her life, threatened to do other rather distasteful things, and she's never even batted an eye. But here, she's breathing faster. She seems a little bit kind of almost scatterbrained. And yeah, whatever this is a side of Esmiel you have never seen before. Aoi, you were eventually just kind of woken up by kind of a pounding on your door, and then told, yeah, you need to get down to the galley, something's up. So, and then Smegwick, obviously, you were part of the conversation, and now everyone's gotten there. You were all filled in on the kind of Cliff's Notes version of the conversation that Smegwick had, which was basically, and feel free to correct me if I misremember anything. Effectively, everything that's happening now seems to be a setup specifically designed to kill assassins.
Oh, that is
sounds about right.
bad.
And again, with anonymity existing for as long as it has, people have tried to take out anonymity over and over and over again, and they've never succeeded because anonymity is always a few steps ahead. And according to Esmail, who's your contact from anonymity, this is the first time she's aware in the existence of anonymity that someone has been able to concoct a plan that has actually worked to trick them into doing something dangerous. They have so many contacts in so many places, and so many different ways to get information that no one has ever been able to keep a plan secret enough for it to fool anonymity. And these people have succeeded in that. So,
It's scary.
with that information, what would you all like to do or ask or anything like that?
So we gotta really plan carefully. I think we might have to, like, abandon the plan because it was like, they're gonna be expecting us.
Well, the target house is absolutely expecting a hit.
Arai's gonna see about finding Thomas and getting Ismail some cookies and tea.
Okay. And so, Thomas, as you come over, Thomas, without you saying anything, Thomas gives you a plate of freshly baked sweets. They're not cookies, but they're kind of sweet muffins and things like that. And then a decent-sized cup of some hot, spiced drink. You're not sure exactly what it is. It has kind of a chai smell to it. So something like an herbal tea chai kind of thing. And he just kind of looks at you and he nods and goes, "This will help her out." And just kind of gives them to you.
Okay, and Arai kind of takes him and balances him and rubs his head and goes, "You're so good. You're such a good boy."
And you just see him. You just see him
Doesn't
like.
see anything. You just turn and walk to Ismail. Such a good boy.
So, as you come over to Esmail, she's pacing, and you see her randomly, like she will take, because she's just somehow producing paper out of somewhere. You have no idea where all this paper is coming from. But she keeps putting down like rolls of parchment and things like that, and then sketching out plans of the city. You see a couple are just kind of notes talking about the various traps that could possibly be there, the more likely things you'd have to deal with. And she's just creating just an ungodly amount of information, seemingly out of her head. And then after she'll spend like a minute or so, drawing a sketch of a tower with murder holes in it or something, she will stop and then pace and kind of mumble to herself a little bit and then start on something else and then mumble. And so when you come over with this stuff, she doesn't even notice that you're there.
Yep. And Arai's going to keep balancing it on one arm and just sort of tap her back very gently.
And as soon as you make contact, she instantly turns and she has your wrist grabbed with a lot more strength than you would have anticipated. Like she grabs your wrist and kind of twists to basically lock your wrist without even thinking. And you look at her and she already has her other hand just moved to another place, and she realizes who you are and instantly just drops it. And you watch as the mask instantly comes up. "Darling, what can I do for you?"
tea?
And you watch as her face just kind of drops in this sigh. She goes, "Thank you." And she
And
drinks
there's-
it, and you watch her blink a little bit. Ooh. Ooh. She smells it. Compliments to the chef.
There's treats too. And she puts those on the table next to her.
Oh, darling, if they wouldn't go directly to my thighs.
It's not a bad place to go.
And she just kind of nods at you. All right, everyone come over here.
Okay.
I've been sketching, and this is the information that I am aware of. The problem with it is all the information I am currently aware of is obviously false, as we've learned. So I've theorized and come up with a few different ideas of what might actually be going on, but I need another pair of eyes, or rather quite a few of them, to look at this and figure out exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I was going to ask if we could, like, double check, what she's got on the, map. Maybe,
Sure.
pick up, something of our own.
Well, with your experience in warfare in particular, because you're specifically an Eldritch Knight.
Yeah.
Yes, your magical education, you went to a school for magic. However,
Yeah.
because you're an Eldritch Knight, you were given a lot more emphasis on warcraft and kind of the art and design of war in general. So if you want to roll me a history check with advantage.
Ooh, okay.
The specific design she's made with the towers with murder holes in them and stuff like that, which if anyone's unaware, murder holes are basically just slits in towers and stuff like that you can shoot arrows through.
Thank God I got a 1 and an 18.
18, cool. So is 18 the total?
18's the total,
Okay,
yes.
cool. So looking it over, you're looking at the designs that she's made, and you realize that because of the layout and everything, there's only one building that really could make effective use of this particular style of murder hole. Because in order for something like that to work really well, you have to be able to have an area wide enough that the archers can not only see out to be able to hit their targets, but also that's wide enough for their arrows to go through in the right direction. So the murder hole has to be carved at a certain angle, while also not allowing enemy arrows in. And as much as there's a bunch of different buildings around that she has just assumed are all places for people to rain down destruction on, there's only one where that would be really effective, even if you start using magic, which doesn't require much more than line of sight. There's only one building that would make a really effective kind of murder hole tower. And the rest of the buildings just don't fit that way well enough.
I point that out to her and, I hope this information's, correct.
Well, I mean, it's useful in the idea that this, and as far as you guys can tell, I'm going to kind of, where's my mouse? There we go. I'm going to very quickly make just a blank page that I can draw on. Because I meant to make a map for you guys, but my depression got the best of me and I just couldn't pull it off.
Aw, Jodes.
It happens. So, basically, what she's described here, is let's say like this is the building here. Because I know, like, I've already planned out the map and everything like that. I just can't put it down on paper. And so the road comes up this way, like you have the road here, and then the road itself goes all the way around this building. This building is at the center, and then there are roads going off in each of the 4 cardinal directions. And
Okay.
people watching at home, I will show you all of this in like a couple seconds. So if I go here, and go here, there we go. All right, so this is it, and this is the building. And so I'm going to change the color here to red. So these spots right here were meant to be the no man's land, effectively, along with
Okay.
like the front entrance, which I'll mark in. Let's go blue. The front entrance is here. So the entire front here, bad stuff. And then at each one of these corners, because in order to get from here to here, you have to go through these different corners. So each one of these corners, there seems to be various traps put in there, and then the buildings that are all around, which I'll mark in orange, like there's buildings here, and here, and here, and here. They are all meant to, the reason that these buildings are, or these areas are as dangerous as they are, is that people can hide in all of these tall buildings around this area and just rain down damage here. And this whole place just turns into a very, very bad place.
What Smoke spotted him together as Nat 20 and pointed all that out.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So basically what you have figured out, Aoi, is the only building that could effectively work as a place to just rain down damage without having any possibility of your archers or casters or whatever getting killed is this one right here. The rest of these, either the buildings themselves are not built in a way, like there's too many windows and things like that, that would make it very, very easy to launch a single fireball and knock everyone out. Or
So,
structurally, they
like-
just can't support cutting extra holes into it.
So they're almost like decoys?
You're not sure about that. You just know that this is the only one that that technique would be effective in.
Okay.
It may be that they're intentionally making people think that it's more dangerous than it actually is, or there could be another motive. Again, everything that's happened thus far has been everyone was expecting one thing and has turned into something completely different. So guessing what each thing is has become very, very difficult. So what else, now that you guys see kind of the layout, what else, what other questions or ideas do you guys have? You're a much better artist than I am with a mouse.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea, any like a best estimate, since you seem to know more about the Aqueous than we do? How many they would probably have assigned to this? Rough best guess estimate, like
The Aqueous Realm, their
3 to
assassination
5.
teams, the problem with them is we've never been able to figure out exactly how many assassins they send. Their MO is they will replace members of
Yeah.
a retinue. And they seem random. Sometimes they will replace security guards. Sometimes they will replace kitchen staff. Sometimes they will replace the best friend of the target. And what eventually happens is one of them, at an opportune time, murders the target,
Murders
and
everyone.
then all the changelings disappear. Some of the people they replace, they find bodies of them. Others, they find them wandering around without memories. And we've never been able to quite figure out if they were actually replaced or if memory modification was done to use that. Like, that is their modus operandi is we never quite know exactly how many members they use. We know that assassinations, when they take place, we generally don't realize it's the Aqueous Realm until months afterwards. The Sovereignty has arrested people and put them to death for assassinations that they never committed. That's how well the Aqueous Realm will set these things up. That also means that they have to be significantly invested in these groups. Simply looking like someone is not enough to replace them. They have to spend months learning mannerisms, learning details about their lives.
Yeah. They definitely do, like, they would definitely need to learn a lot of detail work to truly, like, disguise themselves.
And they are not above false flags as well. We've had a couple instances where they have convinced some of the lower members of Anonymity that someone had been replaced by a changeling, and after we dealt with them, we discovered that we just carried out an assassination for them.
Ugh.
It generally only happens with newer recruits that are convinced not to tell their handlers what they're about to do, and those recruits don't last long, let's put it that way. As far as actually fooling the upper echelons, again, I've never heard of it happening.
Well, not to be the paranoid individual, what's the likelihood that one of these guys is already on the team inside?
That's what
As
I'm
a
not sure
possibility.
about. The fact that they sent someone to you to convince you that this is an inevitability, to me, that feels like a bluff. Again, if they were going to pull this off, they wouldn't have told you. The fact that they told you, to me, makes me think either they want you to think that they have more people there than they do, or with the fact that they basically told you it's inevitable that it's going to happen, that they wanted you to relax for some reason. To not be as quite on your guard as you should be, whether that was an attempt to get you assassinated, to get you blamed for it, that I don't know.
Would they have expected us to tell you all this?
I sincerely doubt it. Obviously, you are, aside from perhaps Arai, you all are not as familiar with how much respect is necessary in our particular job field. People have to believe that you are dangerous and are infallible. So, in a situation where your operation has been taken over by an enemy, most assassins would not admit that. It would be the end of their career, end of their life, more likely than not. So, my assumption here would be that they did not attempt you to tell me or anyone else. And the fact that you are effectively a third party would reinforce their idea that you wouldn't have a regular contact with which to confer. Had I not already intended to, let's say, keep an eye on members of your team, none of this would have come to light.
So we have a leg up on them in that respect.
We may or we may not. Again, the changelings in general deal with uncertainty. They spread it. They forge it like weapons, and then they give it out like free meals to the poor. They love it, and they are masters at manipulating information. So being able to predict what they actually mean is nearly impossible. I can only go off of my own experience dealing with the the number of changelings I've ever dealt with in my life, I can count on a single hand, or at least the ones I'm aware of. It still doesn't explain the rest of this. I mean, again, obviously this is set up to kill people. It seems like an awful lot of trouble to go to just to give anonymity a black eye, even with the importance that my boss has put on this. Anonymity was never going to put a substantial amount of agents on this. Again, you guys have already seen we decided to hire a third party for it. Now, part of that was due to the fact that we know you, but it just doesn't seem like an effective way to take out anonymity, or to take out the changelings as well. I mean,
Well, that's the reason why I was already believing this, and I think you came to the round on your own. That someone else is pulling the strings,
yes.
but there being a third party, which is something I've been.
Which, unless we find someone that is willing to talk, we may never figure out who that was. But we should at least be able to figure out what their goal is. And thus far, I have nothing. It is very, very strange. Smegwick, you are the person that actually did the I've just lost the word I'm thinking of. Surveillance, there we go. You're the person that actually did the surveillance. Now that you have a better idea of what to look for, do you think you could get in there again? And perhaps
We
give
passed
us...
by. We did not get in.
Well, do you believe, before this meeting happens, do you think that you, with the help of your friends here, might be able to get close enough to give us some better intelligence? Because right now, I'm going off a lot of conjecture. If we could get some more cold hard facts, we might be able to figure out something better. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I'm going to drink my tea. She goes over and takes another kind of long sip. And no one else would recognize this, but Arai, you would watch as her shoulders kind of slowly lose a little of the tension that they've been holding.
What do you guys think?
Well, at this point, I'm kind of like, at this point, it seems like getting inside at all is kind of like not the goal, since obviously this is meant to be a mousetrap. But everyone else seems to want to direct somebody into the mousetrap to see how bad it'll kick off. The goal, we don't lie, as we already covered that.
I mean, one of the ways to deal with a trap is to trip it.
My personal experience, the reason why I'm guessing at that, throwing bodies at a problem has never really solved the problem.
Well, you make a valid point. Have you all been able to do any research as to exactly what this meeting is about? Anonymity has come up completely empty. All of our contacts have been
We went off
stoned.
what you said. It was a false meeting.
Well, we
had no
understand that the
research.
real meeting is happening, but we don't understand what either of these meetings are actually for.
About.
I mean, I have theories about what's going on behind the scenes, but it's all conjecture too. Someone's pulling the strings. It's tied to Lens Tower. Have you ever been to Lens Tower before we go any further?
No, I don't operate there. I tend to stick around Abia and the core.
Okay, it sounds like it sounds a little bit like a tinfoil hat paranoia, but we've pretty much had confirmation due to people who have been to Lens Tower. Someone's working their own angle within the Tempest Sovereignty. If this is
Well-
the third party that can manipulate all that too, anyone who's been forced to deal with the absolute truth, and they've actually been to the Lens Tower, something goes on inside their cabeza, and the next thing they know is they decide to want to take a long walk off a short pier into the Vale.
I mean, the Lens Tower, for years, there's been, you could call it a rogue faction. There are generals and admirals in there that feel that the current rule of the sovereignty is not quite strict enough in pick your poison. And they've been using the Lens Tower to come up with different ways to usurp the government, usurp the military. Like it's always been a place where the malcontent go to plot against the sovereignty, but they've never gotten anywhere. I mean, they've come up with some interesting. They've come up with some interesting tools, but all of those tools have been used by the sovereignty. They've never been able to keep anything there hidden enough that they could use it against the sovereignty.
They had several agents. They are the ones, and I'm not going to have this argument again. After it was filled out and everything was said, they were the one. Agents, I know of Lens Tower, busted out Corey Alstrax because there was a big explosion that happened topside, and one of theirs sent down, bent the knee to him.
It just doesn't make sense.
So bare minimum, I know there's at least someone who has been confirmed that was. Put this car down, all right? I don't know when you had time to make that.
Huh?
It's Shax's little art she did of our fault. I mean, again, the people that you're describing, they've been on our radar for years. They're mistakes, for lack of a better term. Yes, they were all given abilities that make them very difficult to deal with in very particular situations, but their psyches have been fractured to a point where they're next to useless.
I promise you they're not that useless.
Well, then they've achieved something. We attempted to hire them at one point. The operation that we attempted to have them pull off went so drastically bad that it almost exposed half of anonymity. Like, it could not have gone worse. Every decision that they made was the wrong decision. They were incapable of working together. They had huge problems with understanding the differences between the cover IDs and their actual identities. Their minds were completely fractured.
I mean, those people, one, they could have been, well, I hate to say this, but they could have been just like version 1 experiments. They also, I'm sorry, so it almost ended up going very badly for anonymity.
Well, it went very badly for everyone involved. It was a massacre. It was, you all probably heard about it. There was a huge shipping incident, I believe is what they referred to it. A few thousand people died because a large shipping barge collided with part of a flotilla, and death, destruction, all of these things. It was blamed on, I can't remember who we convinced them to blame it on.
I mean, I hate to say, again, it's conjecture, but like, throw some experiments at the problem and deal a blow to you. That maybe that was also them fucking with anonymity. I don't know.
Yes, but again, they would have had to be able to fool us, which again has never happened. These weren't people that we just randomly walked up to like you. Because of their dangerous nature, we had mages probing their minds, seeing their true inner thoughts. If they can fool that, that is well beyond a simple double agent.
I mean, considering what Goggles was doing to people's brains, could have been experimenting on that too.
Well,
Would any of us have known of the flotilla incident before this?
yeah, it didn't spread. The news of it didn't spread super far in the sovereignty.
Okay.
But you guys would be aware that there was effectively an industrial accident where a lot of people died. But it was intentionally hidden in the press and everything like that. So you guys probably just would have heard of, oh wow, there was a crash and wow, a lot of people died. That's impressive. But that's all it would have been to anyone that didn't want to kind of look into it. Again, the tinfoil hat people would have had a field day with it.
Field day.
But again, it just makes them look that much crazier. So, well, we still have what, 10 hours before this meeting is supposed to happen at this point?
Yeah.
We need to figure out something, and I think just completely walking away is going to end poorly for us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that's what they. I mean, I'm working on the basis that's what they were wanting, one way or another, for this to kick off, whether it was them or us causing this
Yeah.
powder keg.
Yeah, we need to find a way to turn the tide on them. If
I'm-
they're also attempting the assassination.
I'm still convinced if we can get better intelligence, we might be able to figure out something. So unless you have a better idea,
I don't know how we can get better intelligence in under 10 hours.
well, you know what to look for. I have a few things at my disposal, and you have some friends here, or rather, let's call it creative. Make a big enough distraction to bring their eye away from the area that you want to look at. Might be able to get some decent information.
Okay.
I can tell you I've done crazier things to get information before. Well, it's up to you. As I've said before, I have relinquished command of this particular adventure. You all seem to know as much, if not more, than I do about it. So, if you have a better plan, let's hear it.
I mean, I can try to get a closer look, but chances are they're looking for pretty much anything in the way of spies. It's the whole point of this thing.
Well, that can be advantageous. People that are afraid to let people close will react differently. People that have something to hide will react differently and will react to different stimuli than people that have nothing to hide. We can take advantage of their paranoia. If they see someone, let's say, cleaning a street that doesn't need to be cleaned, they're going to assume that's some sort of spy trying to get information. Things like
People
that.
that shouldn't be touched.
Yes. Paranoia can be a very useful weapon when used correctly. We just have to figure out a way to use the paranoia against them. Again, I'm open to suggestion. How about this? You, and she points at Aoi, you've had war training, correct? Warcraft, defense. If you needed to defend this building from an assault that was going to come probably from commando-style guerrilla forces, where would you put your strongest defenses?
I would can I make an intelligence check to...
Absolutely. You can do history.
Okay. With advantage or...
Sure. We'll give you advantage on this.
Okay. Oh, lovely. 9.
Okay. So, looking it over, one of the things you notice about this particular building, even with your 9, is in the city, if you wanted to come up with a defensible position, this is not the place you would go. There are 4 different methods of entry into this area, generally, if you wanted to defend something, you want to have as few entryways into it as physically possible. You know, so that you can put all of your defenses in one area.
Yeah.
A box canyon can be very, very useful because your enemies are all only going to be in one place. This, they can come from any of 4 cardinal directions. So it means that your defenses have to be spread out significantly more. And it means that there are certain things, especially if you're going to have defenders amongst them, there are just certain things that you can't do. You know, dropping meteor storms on enemies is great when they're all in one bunched up little area. But when they're spread out and your units can be in between them, you've lost out on that ability.
Yeah, so then maybe having everyone spread out so they have less of uh, so they won't know who to target. Is that it?
Kind of. It's mostly that you're going like the question she asked. How would you defend this place? Your answer would effectively, I wouldn't. It's a bad idea. This is a bad place to defend.
Yeah, pretty bad. Pretty bad idea to like defend it.
Well, that's interesting. Again, if the purpose of this was to kill people, they would pick a more defensible position. They've picked a notoriously difficult position to defend. That has to mean something, but it's still... I feel like we're looking at a puzzle where 90% of the pieces are missing and we're supposed to just draw them from memory.
Yeah.
The rest of you have any ideas?
Come on, guys.
Feel free to kind of look into your backgrounds to see anything that you think might be beneficial for your character.
I'm thinking. They made Ellie's backstory so basic.
Not unless one of the buildings decides to disappear, then
Wait a minute.
I mean, I hate to say it, but you start a fire.
No, say that again. Arai, what did you just say?
not unless we expect one of the buildings to disappear.
There's no way out. Whatever people they put in there, as far as we can tell, there's no way for them to leave. If your intention is to kill a bunch of people, you still need either an area that is so fortified that your troops are not going to be hurt, or you need an escape route. And as far as we can tell, there's no escape route here.
So we block the escape route, or like?
So we find the escape route.
Yes, they wouldn't do this without an escape route. So perhaps one of the buildings isn't as solid as we think it is, or perhaps they have another way to get their people out.
Time is always an option.
Maybe that's your answer.
Well, it's the best lead I have thus far. Smegwick, how useful is your pet?
It's been very useful. The problem is, every contingency we've had for spying, people have picked him off.
Well, it's not uncommon for familiars to be used in espionage. However, can this particular familiar deal with seeing illusions? How good is your familiar at finding illusions?
That's a good question.
Because
Well,
theoretically, they wouldn't need to get very close to it as long as they could see it. Illusions in and of themselves are
Well,
visual in nature.
in his current iteration, he can detect invisibility quite easily.
Could be useful if they were hiding something. However, I'm more worried about the fact that they're disguising something. None of you have any access to
I
True
will say-
Sight or anything similar
Yeah.
to that, do you?
Friggin' wish. And again, also I don't know if this as well. I mean, at 60 feet, they can detect invisibility. They also can detect whether there's any substances poisonous, just flat out. They don't even need to. They just if there's poison,
How
they sense it.
how close do they have to be to find poison?
They can detect whether a substance is poisonous by taste, touch, or smell. So close. Taste, touch, or smell. So I mean, reasonably close.
Why do you have to be to maintain an illusion?
Usually it's intellect or
I'm sorry.
intelligence. So to
Ask the
speak
question one more time. I didn't hear it.
The distance the caster needs to, or how
Uh,
far does an illusion?
The initial casting varies by the spell, but once it's been cast, maintaining concentration generally isn't a distance thing. It's a concentration thing.
And that's not if they're not an incredibly high spellcaster, which they may not be. A high enough spellcaster, you can actually make a major illusion be permanent.
Yeah. So, yeah, they wouldn't need someone maintaining the illusions if they, depending on how much time they had to plan for this, the illusions might already be quote unquote permanent. To where the only way to get rid of them is either to see through them, which is a perception check, or to dispel them using something like Dispel Magic or something similar. Well, poison, very effective on large groups and doesn't require aiming. You just put it in an area, and anyone that goes through has to deal with it. So your familiars, how hard would it be to make your familiar look less fantastical? Because a Tressym wandering around draws eyes. A stray cat, however, significantly less uncommon.
I mean, I look at him as like, you mother. I can put him into any form.
Yes.
But a point of order, though, if I do that, he's not going to be able to do anything like the visibility or the detection of that.
That's my point. Is there a way that we can...
Oh, make him seem like
Yeah, look, again,
you can't trust him?
can you hide his wings in some way or something like that?
Well, I don't know if anyone has cast an illusion like that. I mean, I can cast a minor illusion. It ain't gonna last very long.
You suddenly hear from the side, "Oh, all you mages and your magic. You keep forgetting that there was magic long before magic. Called it makeup."
You got a bunch of feathers that you can make into like a friggin' vest
No,
or
but
fur. I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry. It would be fur. You'd have to make fur.
I can hide some wings behind a fur coat or something like that. Give me an hour and a half. I'll have something make him look the belle of the ball.
We're
That's
counting
it.
on you, Reggie.
This is what you get when you don't come to my sessions. I butcher the accent of your character.
Aw.
Why you
I'm
don't
sure
have
Abin won't forgive you.
Oh, for Pete's sake. Sorry, I'm trying to get a bottle of water. It's all twisted in the
No,
wrapping.
I can't hear it.
Water.
Hydrate people.
Now the other option being I have a potion of invisibility. I'm not unconvinced now that that sweet old toy maker wasn't setting us up now, because that was way too convenient. We had a potion of invisibility, and we were going to go into a death trap.
Oh.
Well, one would assume they would be expecting invisible people, so they
Yeah,
probably
that's what
have
I was
wards
thinking.
and other
Yeah.
things like that. We could use that to our advantage. Send someone, again, trip the trap on purpose. Go out someone with a potion of invisibility. We could even get a stooge to do it for us. They would have no idea what they were doing. They go, they trip the trap. They feel like they've discovered assassins. They put their guards down.
Yeah, and I'm not really keen on sending someone to their doom.
Yeah.
Well, we're all about to be going to our doom in a little bit here, so
Well, also
Rather
the
they
key is to
die
point.
feeling-
Also, just also to say, like the key is also to like to entice the assassins. If we could possibly lure them out.
possibly if
we
there
could-
are assassins there. Well, for right now, we have
Well, they'd have to keep an eye on the place, obviously, or else what's the point of sending anyone there? Because either they are going to send someone in there to take care of it and give us the credit, or they were expecting us to. So either way, they would have to have someone there in either case, in either scenario.
yes and no. Surveillance can be done at range remarkably easily.
I'm saying, right? Yeah, but they're still going to have someone keeping an eye on it
Possibly,
to observe.
they could just as easily use divination to scry on the location, or have someone half a mile away looking through a telescope.
If you were planning that, though, wouldn't you have protection on the place? I mean, this place has got protection from scrying.
I mean, yes, protection from scrying, absolutely an essential defensive spell. Protection from telescopes? It's not possible. A lot of people forget that mundane means can be as effective, if not more so, than magic.
No, I get it. That's what I'm saying. Someone's going to be observing in some fashion, is what I'm saying. So, if they want to keep if they wanted to keep observation on the place in some method,
Again, were I to surveil this place, I would have anywhere from 4 to 8 people in various parts of the city in high places with spyglasses. It's completely mundane.
Yeah.
Very difficult for anyone inside to be able to make them.
a small handful of outside talent.
No, you never hire outside for surveillance.
No,
It's
I'm
a
saying the
recipe for
aqueous.
destruction.
The aqueous in this case is the outside
Oh, yeah.
talent.
I'm just saying, us trying to figure out where they're surveilling from would take more time than we have available to us.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure it would
quickly
help
running
us.
out of time.
I mean, if it kicks off, wouldn't they want to have the best view?
Yes, but the best view could be half a mile away.
This is a pretty thick city. Has been my understanding.
Yes, but you get
this,
high
this,
enough.
This is
you can
Josh. This
see-
is Joshua talking. This is
Yeah, the city itself. It's not quite like what's the name of the capital city that I created
Exelos.
myself? Exelos.
This is-
It's not
this is
Exelos where it's like New York
I'm sorry,
style.
Imperius.
Imperius,
We are in Exelos.
Yeah. It's not quite like the New York City skyline style thing where there's all these really tall buildings. Exelos in and of itself is significantly flatter, which lends itself to the. I want to just remember what I used. Yeah. So Exelos in and of itself, it has towers in various parts of the Sissa city, but the vast majority of the Sissa city is relatively flat. Mostly because the kind of dancing nature of things, the higher up you get, the more things start getting a little bit crazy as far as dancing is concerned. So most buildings in the city tend to be anywhere between about 3 to 5 stories. But the kind of 3 major towers in 3 of the 4 primary corners, those go up like 30, 40 stories. But the rest of the city, it's kind of made where like the outside of the city is much taller than the inside of the
Yeah.
city. And the place that you guys are going is kind of in the northern part of the city, near the interior. So basically, everything kind of points down towards that area. Does that make sense?
Sort of.
The middle of the city's small. The edge of the city's big.
Okay.
So seeing anything in one of the lower areas of the city just means you need to get, like, you could do surveillance from one of the 3 major towers and have no problems whatsoever as long as you have a decent enough spyglass. And the towers themselves are mostly residential. It's where the aristocracy tend to live. So people with gizmos and gadgets and stuff like that are commonplace.
I think more spying might be our only way to really get an edge on them.
Oh, it's either that or we just give up on this entirely. Well, you can give up on it entirely. I don't really have a choice here. I have my own orders.
Well, I mean, I can send Spitwit in, and he can take a look around. Maybe even someone gives him a shredded up piece of chicken carcass just to make it look like he's taking a treasure find somewhere. He's going scurrying around.
All right. Any other plans, ideas?
In terms of distraction, depending on what you want to do in terms of how quickly we could do something, anywhere from a fire, an explosion
Blow
to...
up the chicken house.
Man, they're pretty far away from us. I mean, if you wanted to do that, you could.
I mean, I'd rather enjoy the chicken there.
Wasn't really that great. Kind of disappointing.
Well, ever since the military's
sovereignty
taken
fucked 'em
over,
over. Yeah.
the quality has dropped, but in its prime, very tasty, very juicy. I love me a good breast. Maybe a thigh every so often.
Yeah, talk. It's Katie.
Go for it.
Oh, Joey.
That's what she said!
Oh, I had like 4 different rooster jokes.
From a game master perspective, I'm trying to give you guys as much information as you can, but this literally is up to you guys.
Right.
So, and what I can tell you right now is you guys do not have
Much time.
no. You guys do not have enough information to know what's going on here.
Okay.
Mm.
Alright.
Which is why Esmiel's been kind of hinting that
Yeah, that's it.
intelligence
That's
is
like-
useful.
As soon as Reggie's got the thing, we'll go.
Yeah.
But beyond that, you guys need to choose to do something, because this has become kind of pulling teeth, where we just sit here with dead air for 5 minutes.
Well, I can appreciate that, but every time I feel like we've tried to plan, it
Mm,
doesn't turn out well for us.
Well, there you all have
Established?
backgrounds, and I'm good with history checks, persuasion checks, whatever you guys want to do for things that you as a person can't think of. Your characters might. So I'm 100% fine with you guys going, well, my character would know this. What about this aspect? Like, kind of what's happened with Owie, where I just go, well, you have military training, so these are the things that your military training has told you. All of you guys have really impressive, interesting backstories that none of it, other than Owie's schooling, has really come into play here.
Yeah, come on, guys.
Or if you guys just want to wing it, you can do that as well. I just need a decision, a definitive decision. I've tried using Esmiel to kind of point you guys in directions,
Come
and
on.
you just don't seem to kind of be picking up on those, which I assume just means that you don't like those ideas, which is perfectly fine. It's
Yeah.
how the game is played. But I do
Yeah.
need you guys to make some sort of decision at this point.
Yeah, I'd say we go for it.
But it's entirely up to you. If you guys want to walk away from this,
No.
I can do that. Like,
No,
I'm not
we're
saying
at
you
ju-
guys have to do something. You just need to
No,
make a decision.
I get it. So the only other thing I can think of is we go send for reconnaissance,
Okay.
go scurrying around,
Okay.
and the only other thing I can think of, because again, I mean, mechanical background, Sage. Story background, he was once a scout, and he was in the situation where he's had a body. He was one of the bodies they tried to throw at the problem, and the only thing I can think of again, but that's a hypothetical as well, theoretical.
Mhm.
In regards to if we were throwing a bodies at the problem, what would they be looking for? Which is obviously just tripping the trap.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to figure out what their plan would be once it goes off. What kicks off? Like if you're if they are expecting the trap to be kicked off, what is the order of operation after that?
Okay. To bring up
Is
the
it
fact that
obviously just like they all just go off, or and then the primary just runs into the shadows to wherever the escape route will be?
So, the reason that you guys figured out something was wrong was entirely based on your background as a scout. Because part of being a scout in war is being able to identify where ambushes are going to happen. Like, this is legitimately one of the jobs of a forward scout, is to go, hey, when we go through this area, we don't have much cover. There's a lot of different places they could hide. If I was setting a trap, this would be where it is. So your particular expertise is being able to spot a bad place before you get into it. So because of that, again, you were just going by it randomly, and you realized, wow, if I was in war, I would not go in there. I would find an alternate route, because that's obviously where people are going to die. And that was from casually glancing as you go around. Because your expertise is in finding places that will end your life, you probably would have an easier time if you were to go back to find pressure plates, to find false floors that contain pits, other things like that, because that's what you used to do. And that's what I mean when I say kind of using your background.
Yep.
So if you guys wanted to go that route, again, the problem with this problem right now is you don't know the problem. You don't have enough information to come up with a solution.
Yeah, we
So that's
really do
one
need more info.
One way that you get more information. If we go to something like Arai, your experience is in exploring places, and the things that you had to deal with were not so much intentional traps, just dangerous things in general. You can tell when a situation is not weighted in your favor, because You learned if you're exploring a ruin and you go to a place where the floor isn't stable, you could die. Or you see an area where you go, wait a minute, rocks don't normally form in that way. But you know what does put rocks that way is a trapdoor spider, or a blink dog, or things like that. Like, that's your expertise, is noticing where danger is specifically just from natural sources. So if you wanted to use that to get more information, you obviously could. You're a barbarian. You understand brute force. So if you want to go, well, if I wanted to kill as many people as possible, where would I go and how would I kill them? I would be fine using that. You know, Smegwick, you're a warlock, right?
Warlock sorcerer, yeah.
You know, warlock sorcerer. So sorcery is built on the idea of improvisation in your magic, and warlocks are, if nothing else, warlocks recognize a good deal when it's put in front of them. You know, these are all things that you guys can use to say, hey, this is in my background. What would that tell me?
Okay.
So I understand that this problem that I've put in front of you seems unsolvable, because it currently is. And I've done that on purpose. But I'm not saying you guys can't get the information to solve the problem. I'm just saying you haven't yet.
Yeah.
You're good at it, Jody.
It's what I do.
Okay, so what we've surmised is we're going to have to go there to look at it.
Yeah.
Or
Which
if you
is
want to
what-
try inferring more things, kind of like with what Katie did, where she goes, well, obviously that's the only building that could be a murder hole, that could support murder holes. If you guys want to come up with a justification for why you would intuit something, I'm good with that too. I just need a justification and what you guys want to find out. Again, I know why all of this is chosen the way it was. Because
Yeah,
I
you're
wrote
the
it.
DM.
But
Well, if we're going to go that route, then as a scout, could I then infer, if this were to get kicked off, what would be their path to vacate? If they're going to, not necessarily the way they would go, but necessarily the.
so basically, kind
If
of
I could surmount.
if you were setting up an ambush, because that's another thing that scouts might do, is they recognize where the bad guys are, and so they use their knowledge of where ambushes could go to help their own team. So if Smegwick was trying to be the sovereignty here, where would you go? Is that effectively what you're trying to say here?
Unless, because we've already established where where they would go to
Okay, sure.
when their plan kicks off.
Why don't you give
Because obviously
me...
they're not going to hang around.
Yeah. Why don't you give me... I'll let you choose history or insight.
I'll go history. Holy crap, D&D Beyond, you didn't screw me over. 22.
22. Okay.
Nice.
So looking at this, the fact that you guys already know that this area in the front here is set up to be no man's land. You would never send your people through the front. There are too many things here that you can't ensure that your people wouldn't trip. Does
That would
make
be
sense?
obvious to an assassin.
And each of these 4 locations are designed to have the highest body count possible. So without being able to see and look for things like, telltale signs of traps and stuff like that, you can't tell entirely how they were planning on killing people. But the fact that there's a murder tower here, murder towers are completely controllable. You don't have to worry about your troops not stepping on something. Would indicate that they plan to be able to control this area. And because this is on a tower, it effectively means... I'm going to get my paint out again. It effectively means that this area right here... they have they can turn off the death here. Whereas since murder towers won't work here, in these other locations like here and here, any kind of death that they have set up for there has to be automatic. Or at least has to be controllable by another mean. You know, perhaps they have mages in here that can set off explosions or something. You know, glyphs of wardings that can be manually triggered in that. But as far as you can tell, this is the only location that they have control over. And that would indicate you generally want to control your point of egress. You don't really care about anything else, but you want to ensure that you have control over your point of egress, whether it's coming in or going out. You have to control that, because once somebody closes off your entrance or exit point, you've lost control of the situation. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the point of a trap going off if you can't if you can't get out of it safely.
Mm-hmm. So your theory is they're either going to enter through there or exit from there, because it makes sense that they would have control over that area. So with that knowledge, does that change what you guys want to do? Does that give you guys ideas about other stuff that you might be able to intuit from this? Or where you want to try and find more information by going there personally?
Again, I'm still thinking we are going to have to go there.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, the more you intuit now,
yeah,
the less danger you run into.
There is the question that Smegwick is kicking in the back. If I can figure this out, wouldn't the Aqueous also figure this out too?
Theoretically, but the reason that you figured it out is you happen to have someone who has been trained in warfare tactics, that looked specifically at this map and went, wait a minute, that's the only place that could have murder holes in. That's very specialized knowledge, and it's a weird thing to kind of intuit on your own. So it's possible they don't have that knowledge.
Okay.
Again, one of the benefits of a D&D adventuring party is because of your varied backgrounds, you're going to bring things to the table. Again, they may not have anyone that has training of a military scout as part of their group. Again, assassination and scout skills tend to overlap a fair amount, but assassins, their purpose is to go into a place and ensure someone dies. Scouts, their purpose is to go into a place and ensure nobody dies, or at least the people that die are not the ones that they like. So because of different intents, they have different things that they look for. You know, a Japanese chef is going to look at a recipe very differently than a French chef is going to.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they both cook.
Mm-hmm.
So with that knowledge, anything else that you guys want to do before we actually physically head there? Because again, this is the DM telling you there are other things you can intuit if you want. But I think Smegwick is right in the idea that you guys are working with limited knowledge, and if you want firm answers, you're going to have to physically go there.
Yeah.
Arai? I know this isn't kind of like, I hate to bring this up now, but say this wasn't a city, but a trepidatious temple, booby-trapped all to hell. Was this not kind of the thing your family kind of were expertised in dealing with?
You're muted, by the way.
Oh yes, good childhood memories. Are we going to booby trap the area?
No, what I was wondering is, in regards to, I don't know, if you could, if possibly a matter of like similar but different scenario, what would
I expect the traps to be. So the one problem that I've had with Arai with this particular situation is he rolled, or check, I rolled like a 1. So during that exploration area, Arai was completely tuned
Mhm.
out and focused on other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I don't have any information because Arai really wasn't paying attention at all.
Yeah, when you guys were exploring it, Arai was much more focused on other things. However, now that you are seeing a top-down map as opposed to wandering around a city, you basically have a new point of view that you can inspect from, and this is giving you information that, frankly, you couldn't have gotten walking around, if for no other reason than you're looking at an aerial view as opposed to a ground view. So. From that, if you want to try and infer something from the pictures that you see here, you 100% can make a roll for it. You just have to you have to tell me what aspect you're trying to figure out.
And I was kind of wondering, like, if your family was kind of like going into a city like this, what would they be watching out for?
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Some of the ruins that you guys have dealt with are actual cities that you've gone. They're not all like temples and stuff like that. Like a few of the vanishing ruins have been cities that have obviously been destroyed and things like that.
Like this one.
Yeah. So that would be in your expertise. Like I said, you just have to tell me what it is you want to figure out and how you want to figure that out.
a city is just a ruin that time hasn't destroyed yet.
It's true. There are more living things in it, which is sometimes fun, but other times not so much. Depending on the type of living thing.
And again, if you think Arai just kind of thinks better when they're physically in the location, you can go that route as well. It's like, yeah, pictures are great. We didn't look at pictures of ruins. We went into ruins.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go that route as well. It's all about how you want to approach this situation.
He would probably be more keen to actually going and exploring and seeing the site than.
So yeah, you can basically say pictures are great. They will people have mapped out your family probably would have had people because of how successful your family was, probably would have had people that would go out and map the ruins before they would send you guys in. You would get kind of early mapping and stuff like that, so you could figure out what you were doing. However, everything changes when you're actually there. Scouts can only map so much, and there's certain things that you'll only notice when you're physically there. Like, they can draw you a map of a room, but they can't tell you the faint scent of sulfur that's in there, or the weird changing humidity that happens between this room and another room that tells you a ton more than any map ever would. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so that's what you get from Arai.
And maybe when we go there, I can jot down what other information
Yeah, again,
we
there's
could gather on the map.
there's a significant difference between trying to figure out something and looking for specific details. The last time you were here, you were just looking around looking for inspiration. Now you have very specific things to look for. So obviously that changes. So that being said, do you guys have anything else you want to try and intuit before you head out for one last reconnaissance? Verbal combination tends to be the most useful in a
Right.
visual,
Right.
auditory
Yes.
medium.
I think so.
Okay?
Nothing else off the top of my head.
Okay. So, Esmiel goes, all right, take a nap. we leave for reconnaissance in 2 hours.
Thanks for thanks for helping us put our heads together.
Well, either I'm going to get a promotion out of this, or I'm going to die.
Oh, that reminds me. This might not be the best time.
Well, I'll see you all in 2 hours. And she kind of wanders out.
Alright, I leaned over to Smegwick. Do I tell her that I saw her petrified near the fountain?
That's up to you. I mean,
Something you tell people.
we keep telling people we can encounter weird shit all the time. Either they look at us like we're fucking stupid, they look at us like we're fucking nuts, or they
So
dismiss what they dismiss what we said and say like, "Oh no, we really know what's really going on." So at this point, grab bag for what you want to, what you think the response is going to be when you tell her that.
Alright. So apparently my parents saw you dead in the city in ruins with going.
But we've also learned that time is fucky wucky right now.
Yeah.
He's always
So,
tiny whiny.
so do you want to chase down
But I don't
Ismail, or
My one recommendation, now that I say that out loud, maybe don't throw that information at her right now.
Yeah, definitely don't.
That would be a bit of that would kind of like take my mind off things in a not good way. Hey, you know this thing we're planning right now? Hey, by the way, we saw you die.
Okay. This is gonna be random. But in the with the information that I had received about the city and with recognizing Ismail, what clothes was she wearing? Is
the
it what
reason
she's
that you
wearing now?
recognized Ismail is because your friend kind of drew a sketch specifically of her face. It was
Okay.
a really rough sketch, so you didn't really see
Okay.
outfit or anything. So you couldn't tell which clothes she was wearing.
Okay.
Would have been really, really useful for you to know that, but you're going off of someone else's memory of something that happened a little while ago.
Right.
For all he knows, she could have been naked.
Yeah,
No, he would have drawn that.
Just would have been some like black lines.
So, any other prep work you guys want to go before you do your second and final surveillance?
Away.
All right. Unfortunately, because it is very, very late, that is where we're going to end it for tonight. As always, if you missed any of this, I do upload all of these to my YouTube channels, youtube.com/TraderJody. Yeah, otherwise, that's all for me today. And I will see you guys in the next time. All right? Bye-bye.
Bye.